What's up? This is Professor Worgeles. We just finished number 2, DB login. We're now moving on to number 3, create user. What I'm going to do is create another form. So if they don't have a username and password, they can go ahead and create their own account. You'll see this a lot of times with Facebook or any type of website, where if you don't have a username and password, you can always create that user. Now for the final project, it requires you to have 2 forms. So the first form can be the user login. The second form, which is what we're building now, could be the create user form. So we'll continue to number 3. If you open this up, we'll be starting in login form.php. Now in login form, there's not much to change. It's been the same since we first implemented it. But we'll want a place where the user can select and go ahead and put that they're not a user. So the easiest will be just to have a link. Let's say I do a line break. I create a link, and the link is going to go to our create user form.php. And they always have a message like not a user, or need an account, or create a user account. Okay, whatever you need to put. Now we'll go to create user form.php and see what we have there. So let's update this code, and we'll go to create user form.php. If I open this up, here's what we have. So it's almost the same. I've changed the title. Instead of login, it's create user account. You'll see there's a form. It goes to createuser.php using post. Instead of the hidden content being do login, now we have do create. We have the first name. Maybe they need to type their first name, last name, username, password. Usually you have to confirm the password. Maybe you have to put your birthday, make sure they're a certain age, and their email address. Okay, so I have this data that they're going to insert in. Everything that has a name will be submitted with the form. So this is going to be my key in the PHP code. If I want to access this input item, I'm going to grab it based off this key. Okay, so I have first name, last name, username, password, birthday, and email. Now there's a problem. In my database, I only have username and password. So we may want to add these extra columns so I can store this data. So I'll come back to my table. I can do a describe users. Let's see what we have. So if I describe the users table, we have username, password, add date, modify date. Now there's 2 ways to modify this table. I can drop the old table and create an entirely new table. But if I have data in the table, that may be a little risky. So I can also do an alter table. Maybe I alter the table and I add a few columns. Okay, so maybe I alter table users. Maybe I add first name to the table, which is going to be text. And the default will be null since I'm adding it in later. And I'm going to add it after the ID field. Okay, so I can specify where I want that table to be, where I want that column to be added. I may add another one, alter table users. I'm going to add the last name, which is also going to be text, default null, after first name. Okay, so I can either drop the table or I can add to that table. So I'm adding columns to our predefined existing table that we've already created. There's 2 more. I also need to alter the table users. I'm going to add our email. Email is also going to be text. The default is null. I'm going to add it after the password field. Okay, see password's a keyword, so I'm going to say user password. Last one is alter table. We're going to alter the users table. We're going to add the birth date, which is also going to be a date. For the birth date, maybe you don't care about the time, you just want the date. Default is null. And we're going to add it after the email. Okay, I'm going to execute these commands. So there's the first one. Looks like I already did it. Here's the second one. Okay, did that one too. Here comes the third one. And then the fourth one. So I've added 4 columns to this table. If I do another describe, the users table, we can see these columns. Okay, so here they are, first name, last name, username, user password, email, birth date, add date, and modify date. Okay, so we have a large table now. And the reason I added these as default to null is because I'm adding them afterwards. So let's say I have 100 rows. I have 100 rows, and now I add a column to that. Okay, that column may just be blank, or I can default it to all null. That way I know whether the attribute's been added or not. Okay, so if you're adding columns after the table's been created, sometimes it is a good idea to put the default to null. That way it puts null values in for all the data that's been added before you added this column. Okay, the table's ready. We will continue to the next video, and we'll build up the PHP code to insert data into this new table. We'll see you in the next video.